but it'd be
All
nice to see
PJs.
smiling faces. So with that said, again, this, as everyone knows, I appreciate you all being here. This was a reschedule from where we were all supposed to be together. Another of the classic examples where we would prefer to be in person, and having the emotion that goes with this and the feelings we get from event planners and being in events and sharing that with each other in the collaboration. But in lieu of that, what we're looking at here is the future and how do we all adapt. And I'm very excited to have Chelley on board for this. I want to thank the CFEA Board of Directors for switching gears and being so adaptable and getting this put together in less than 2 weeks so we could all be here. It is my pleasure to introduce Chelley. I have known Chelley for many, many years. I consider her a friend. I knew her before she was before she was doing what she is now as an entrepreneur in Colorado. And I'm very proud of where she's gone. I've seen her inspire a lot of people. She is a spiritual spark plug. She helps to inspire, connect, and enlighten and awaken souls. She is a coach, a speaker. I have listened to her podcast and love it. She is a blogger and an author, and she is an all-around firecracker and has a spirit that I'm hoping is going to make us a little more contagious about what we've got going on in the future. So with that, I will turn it over to Chelley.
Thank you, Ira. I really appreciate that introduction. It is such an honor to be here. Thank you for your friendship and for your leadership. And thank you to CFEA, everybody who's on board today for this call. I am the host now. So what that means is I'm going to switch off for a second to pull up my slideshow, and then I have a couple of instructions before we get started. So don't mind me. Need to go to share content. Okay. Don't mind me. Okay, great. Can you hopefully see the slideshow? And there are a couple of different views here where you can switch it up so that the person speaking, which should be me, will be in the corner of your screen and you can see the full slideshow in front of you. Ira, will you nod your head yes if that's, okay, cool. Perfect. Wonderful. So a couple of things. I'm going to mute everybody if you're not already. We're going to have some time at the end to do some Q&A. So during the talk, if you get a question that comes up, feel free to put it in the chat box and I will get to that at the end of the call. And you can also, when we're doing Q&A, raise your hand. So if it's something you'd like to speak and we can hear your voice, I can call on you that way. So let's get started. Today's webinar is called The Power of Gathering, the Importance of the Event Industry to the Future of Humanity. Yeah, y'all are that important. It's true. It truly is. And I think now more than ever, we are understanding really, really how true that is. So before we get started, I'd like to do a 5-minute grounding meditation. It's just a moment to clear our energy, to really make ourselves present to this conversation and to set intentions for what we're wanting to do for this gathering. So I invite you to put your feet flat on the floor and close your eyes. Now, if you can take your hands and place palms facing up, and we'll just take 3 deep breaths together. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. From here, I'd like you to imagine that your feet have grown roots. Tree roots. Just imagine these very strong roots, just grounding yourself into the floor beneath you. Really feel that floor. And from here, visualize that those roots continue to go through the earth, through the layers of crystal and the dirt, miles and miles and miles, all the way down until you meet the glowing center of the earth. And this is a space of grounding. This is a space of safety and security. So imagine yourself wrapping those tree roots around that very secure center of the earth, that core. And imagine a color that feels safe to you, that feels grounding, that makes you feel present. And as that color begins to circulate and swirl in the center of the earth, imagine that it starts to work its way up those tree roots. Up, 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 just the way it came down. But you're pulling that energy into your system, that grounding quality, up, 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 goes through your feet to your ankles, up your shins, and your knees up over your thighs into your hips. And now imagine your tailbone, which is hopefully a straight spine from your tailbone up to the crown of your head. Through this tailbone, you imagine another cord, whoosh, opening up, also connecting to the center of the earth. So you have a cycle going. The grounding energy comes up, goes over, spills over your hips and thighs and down that grounding cord in your tailbone. So visualize that energy moving, clearing out anything that doesn't serve you, bringing in that nourishing earth energy. Now, as that energy is moving on autopilot, imagine there's an opening at the top of your head. Open your crown up to receive beautiful, inspiring source energy, and pick another color that represents that to you. And like liquid honey, imagine it pouring in to the top of your head, down your forehead, your eyes and eyelashes, nose, mouth, ears, down your neck, torso, pouring over your shoulders, down your arms, forearms, wrists, hands. And you can actually feel it tingling in the palms of your hands, maybe even swirling. Now imagine that wonderful energy continues down the front and back of your torso, down your spine, over your belly, over your heart. And so it meets that energy that is coming up from the earth. Now imagine the two energies start to combine as if there was a washing machine going on the inside of your body, cleansing and clearing everything that doesn't serve you, any energy that doesn't belong to you, any worry from the collective, any kind of doubts or fears, all of that is just cleansed, cleansed, cleansed. Now imagine you press a button which releases a lever in that tailbone, and whoosh, all of that energy cleans out through that tailbone. You now have an open, clean vessel. Now imagine a large gold sun at the top of your head. And in this gold sun, put words in it that you would like to set as intentions for this call, for this day, for this moment. It could be being present. It could be courage. It could be strength, love. Put it all in there. And once you've finished that, pour that once again into the top of your head, down over your face, nose, neck, down your chest, down your arms, legs, down to your feet. And now you're full of the energy that is just you, that you've intended to have. Now imagine that spreads about 6 feet around you on every side to a big golden orb. And take deep breaths here, just 3 of them as you sit in this energy and know what it feels like to sit in your own energy. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Make this your biggest one yet. Inhale. And exhale. And with that, open your eyes. Thank you for doing that with me. Thanks for taking a moment to ground yourself. Now that we're all here and together, I would love to begin on this presentation. So, who am I? What am I doing here? So I am the founder, CEO, and spiritual spark plug of Lighthouse Haven, which is a spiritual wellness company, which also allows me to be a professional speaker, MC, podcast creator, and host, author, and coach. It's a lot of titles, I know. I left a career previously in special events for nonprofits, both in New York City and in Denver. And I've worked in many aspects of events. I've done, I've created them, I've planned them, I've managed them, anything from the seating arrangements to the florals to the catering. I've been a fundraiser, an MC, food and beverage server, talent manager, talent brand ambassador. I've kind of seen it from all sides, and events are really special to me, and I understand how important they are, truly important they are. And I understand also the amount of love and work and stress and all of the roller coaster of things that go into putting these incredible events on. So I know it from a pretty intimate perspective. So the goal of today's webinar is to discuss the importance and the role of the event and festival industry to the future of humanity, and to provide some insight to help you navigate this new reality that we're dealing with so that your company and that you personally can stay strong, healthy, and inspired for years to come. So where were we in the event industry before the virus came. We were definitely gathering. People have been gathering forever. They love it. They want to hear music. They want to hang out, eat some great food. But what I've noticed over the past few years is how we're all like this. And we're not like this. We're not actually taking each other in. We're not understanding the beauty of gathering, of how important it is to like touch someone on the shoulder and to smile at them in their eyes. And when that is taken away from us, we truly understand how essential and important that is. Another thing that had been sort of showing itself in the past couple of years was an upswing of fear of gathering due to violence at large events, mass shootings. You have people taking cars and, you know, driving into crowds and things of that nature. It seemed to have really increased in the past few years, and the event industry had to sit back and say, okay, how are we going to deal with this? And so there's that side of it. And there's also the side of the person going to the event. Maybe less people are going to the event because they're saying, I just don't want to be around people. I just can't put myself in danger for something like that. So that combination of fear and lack of connection has maybe made things a little bit more challenging in the industry over the past couple of years. So right now, what are we doing now? The rug has been pulled out from under us, out of the industry, out of our personal lives. This imposed isolation is challenging our reality and forcing people to turn inward. And as a result, huge shifts are happening on an individual and global basis. In fact, it's a spiritual awakening that's occurring on a very mass scale. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means right now. So what is a spiritual awakening? Here are a couple of definitions from my book, The ABCs of Awakening, A Dictionary for the Emerging Soul, which is a book that I created to be very simple. It's like 80 pages long. It's for people who are pretty new to these concepts and are wondering, like, what do these things mean? I made it really light, simple. There's introspective questions as well, but I want it to be kind of funny and light. So it's not like, oh, it's this big intangible thing. It's actually something we all deal with every day in various ways. So S is for spiritual. So to pare it down, it's the belief that we're connected to some intangible source greater than ourselves. And the recognition that outside approval or dogma is not necessary to have a personal relationship with that source. It's not associated with any particular religion or philosophy, but it doesn't exclude us from identifying with those things either. And A is for awakening. So this is the realization that life as you know it no longer makes sense. That certain beliefs and systems in place that you always accepted as fact are now things to question. There is a shift that happens, a raise in vibration, a sharpening of awareness. Awakenings can stem from a slow burn of knowing that things aren't quite right until one day you look in the mirror and no longer recognize yourself, or from a catastrophic incident in which you had to shift in order to survive. Everyone has their own story, and your beautiful, unique, highly personal journey starts here. So for me, it was a slow burn. I had a couple of awakenings in the past 8 years or so, the last one being about 1.5 years ago when I literally just jumped off the cliff of my life. I left everything behind, and I knew things had to crumble in order for the me that was emerging to come through. And not everybody does it like that. It can be a more gradual thing, a purposefully gradual thing, or it can be a complete, like I mentioned earlier, taking the rug out from under you, a divorce, a death, a loss, a pandemic, where suddenly everything is up for question. I feel that's where we are now. So when we're through this, what happens? From this time of isolation, people are going to be ready for you. They are going to want to emerge and gather. They are going to be hungry for that. Individuals and industries will come out at this time with a greater awareness of their inside and outside worlds. This is time to reevaluate values. This is time to say, like, okay, what is my place in the world? What am I doing here? What is my company doing here? So let's examine what's shifting so that we can come back as strong and relevant as ever. And I would argue even more so. Now, these shifts that I'm going to mention are a combination of things that I've noticed from my own awakening, that I've noticed from my own intuition, that I've seen other people come to the conclusion about at the same time. Teachers that I follow are suddenly saying the same types of things. It's like these collective shifts are happening. And so whether you've experienced them or not, personally, you may have heard other people who are dealing with this, or maybe it hasn't touched you quite yet, but these are the things that I've noticed. So yes, let's consider how the industry can shift along with the cultural shift as a whole that's happening. So one of the biggies is looking inward for answers versus outward validation. So this is talking about the importance of intuition, relying on your own knowing, and not always needing to look outside of ourselves for answers or approval. I don't know about you, but for most of my life, it's okay, well, what does the system dictate I should do? How does the ladder work? If I have an idea, whose approval do I need in order to get it done? Or if I'm going to do something, do I need someone to tell me it's a good idea or not? It's not about, hey, can you tell me this or that? It's about learning to trust yourself and knowing that that guidance is of top priority. Next, rising together versus defeating competition at all costs. The model of let's claw our way to the top, let's see who we can, betray along the way, that you see in those movies and things like that. A lot of that stuff does happen in real life. Not saying it's anyone here, but that model is crumbling. A spirit of collaboration over competition leads to authentic win-wins. When we all rise together, it leads to stronger industries. And I think overall people feel that energy of it and want to be a part of it more. So next, seeing each other as extensions of ourselves versus other. This is a biggie right now. I'm going to protect mine and my own no matter what. Well, decisions that consider what is my impact on society. Are my decisions oppressing or taking advantage of anyone in any way will lead you into the future. We have to consider what our personal and our company decisions have. Like, what do they have as an impact on the world? Are we here to help, or are we going to just look out for me and mine, and that's it? Next, valuing safety and welfare of all versus the profitability of a few. Human lives matter. And I feel a lot of people have been under the impression, and myself included, that my life doesn't matter as much as someone else, the money that they can save. And it's disheartening because, profits can actually increase because more people will come out the more they feel safe. If there are measures in place, if there are precautions taken ahead of time instead of trying to fix it after a lot of people have died, we're going to do better in the long run. Next, transparency versus hidden agendas. So people and companies, I think you can see all over the news, are being called out for pulling the wool over people's eyes. Things that are usually done in the shadows that have just been like, okay, well, that's the way things have always been done, are no longer being able to exist. People are shining a light on those things. If you are actually transparent with how you do business, with how you have relationships, putting those things out on the table builds trust. And trust is essential to having long-term partnerships and yes, growing your business as well. Next, heart over hardline decision-making. So yes, we need facts and figures. We need all of those things, but not at the expense of the care and empathy of others. If you want employees to stay, if you want customers to stay, you have to see them as people. It's about feeling the heart side of it too. It's been left out of business for so long, and now you're starting to see that companies are embracing this more and realizing what's my social impact. How can I see everything I do should revolve around this, like, first do no harm, but also how can I help, and how can I maybe make decisions that might come from the heart over sometimes facts and figures only. Along with that is the courage to use your voice over fear, silence, and complacency. Choosing the right thing over the easy thing is very scary, but it's necessary when it comes to shifting an industry and bringing it into the future. Certain things do need to be called out, and being afraid to lose a job or to be stigmatized or to be told, that, well, you should just keep your feelings and your business separate. Those things are starting to become things of the past, because how we show up as people and how we show up as our company is going to shape everything moving forward. So sometimes we're going to be called to be uncomfortable and step up. Next, this is a big one for me because this is a lot of what I work on: prioritizing self-care over being too busy. So mental and spiritual self-care should be as supported as, say, physical self-care is, for example, both organizationally and personally. if we're going to do this for the long run, if we're going to stay filled with our cup, we're going to have to take moments for ourselves in order to keep those things healthy. I know certain companies say like, hey, I'll pay for your gym membership, but who's paying for a therapist, or who's paying for spiritual work? Who's giving you time to step aside and take, like, I need a meditation break because this is overwhelming and I can't perform the way I need to. These are all things that should become part of our culture moving forward. I'm starting to see a shift in that, and I think it's only going to grow from there. And part of it comes not just from prioritizing that where you work and what you've created, but when you're at home, making that time for yourself. If you don't do it for yourself, no one's going to do it for you. But once more people start doing it for themselves, I believe they're going to see the benefits of that and be able to bring that to the forefront with how else they show up in the world and who else they work with. So how can we incorporate these shifts into the industry moving forward? That's just something to think about. Those are ideas that you can, take what resonates, leave behind what doesn't. But if it does resonate with you, maybe do a little introspection on that and thinking, okay, how can I show up more along those lines? And what do I really believe? What truly makes sense for me? That's part of the introspection, the work that's happening right now as we are all self-isolating. So how can we care for ourselves during this time of transition, ... and beyond? Well, prioritize your self-care now. Set aside time every day. And these practices will serve you now, but they're also going to be easier to carry forward as you emerge from the isolation. So if you think about it, did you have a commute before? Did you have certain time at the office that now you have time at home? I know many of you have children. I know many of you have other responsibilities besides this as well. But even if you can grab 15 to 20 minutes just for yourself every day, it is life-changing. It's shifting that out perspective to in perspective. Whether you're a spiritual or religious person or any of those things, like I believe in prayer. That's a time to talk to my all that is, and to ask for help and to show gratitude. To me, meditating is about receiving that knowledge, that information, those hits where you're like, there's the answer. So if we don't ever give ourselves time for that, we may be selling ourselves short and not giving ourselves the gift of receiving. So make sure you take time to receive. We will learn to manage our energy, showing up grounded, clear, and fully present in the moment. Being present is one of the gifts that just keeps on giving. I just want you to know like how important it is to realize how when we're in a sense of turmoil, it's typically because we're stuck in the past, we're worried about something that already happened, or we're worried about the future. What's going to happen? When is this isolation going to end? When is the industry going to get back to normal? If we stay stuck in those two different times, we're not seeing what is. Think about it like I'm sitting here right now. Am I fine in this moment? Yeah. Am I comfortable? Yes. Am I in a house that is nice? Yes. Am I in comfortable clothes? Yes. Am I good in this moment? I'm good in this moment. And then I'm good in the next moment. And then I'm good in the next moment. So it's about bringing it back. So there are different tools to manage our energy. So when you show up in the world, it's not dictated by whichever way the wind blows. It's more like I'm setting my energy, and this is how I'm choosing to show up in the world. Being grounded, just the exercise we did a few minutes ago, does wonders. Do it before you leave the house every day, and things just start to shift in a really positive way. So our body, mind, and spirit. Yes, we all need these things to work together. So talking about the body for a moment, I'm not sure about you, but I personally get really strong messages from my body when things are off and when things are on in terms of my work, my relationships, the decisions I have to make. When I would walk into a job that I knew I had to leave, second I walked in the door, boom, I would feel rocks in my belly. Or if something is true, I feel tingles across the top of my back. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yes, I'm on the right track. My energy might shoot through the roof when I'm speaking about a certain topic, or I might lose all my energy and just feel drained and completely out of it when I'm in another area. And then those are cues for me to start realizing, okay, maybe this is or isn't right for me. So I've gotten pretty good about identifying what those things are. So maybe consider that for yourself. What things show up for you in that regard? Um, Taking care of our bodies with physical exercise, eating healthy, getting enough sleep. Those seem like really basic things, but it really does make a difference. When you eat a bunch of junk, your body has to work that much harder to process things, and that's less energy you have to go and create. When you're not sleeping well, you're tired, and so you're not functioning at your highest level. Your brain actually just isn't able to function at the same level. So make sure that, even physical exercise is so great. Yes, you want to look great in your jeans and everything, but you want to make sure that you have the strength and the energy to get through these really long days that you have to do at work. You can expel excess energy or negative energy by moving your body, dancing around the room like crazy, going for a long run. All of these things help bring you back to yourself. So taking care of that body is just essential. The mind, it can be all over the place, jumping from one thing to another, and it's spinning. Two things that I think really help with that are meditation. I've recorded some I can point you to. I love the app Insight Timer. I've actually uploaded one of my meditation journeys on there, but there are thousands you can do for free where they actually will guide you through it, like a visualization, or they have timers where you can just hear like a bell and it tells you when you've just been sitting there in silence, just breathing for a certain amount of minutes. Life-changing, truly, truly necessary. I'm not sleeping as well during this time. There is that constant worry that happens with, again, like, how long is this going to last? Are people going to die? Like all of those things. And so when I do wake up in the middle of the night, I find myself going to my app, finding the journey that will help me. My nervous system relaxes, my brain wave shifts, and suddenly I'm okay. And then go back to sleep. So it's a good tip for you if you're having any trouble with that. Journaling, it's another way to receive. So as I mentioned, meditation is a good way to take in the information. Journaling is a good way to also receive those messages. You'd be surprised what a little free handwriting will come up with, and you're just like, oh wow, I did not realize that was the thing that was happening. So if you can make that part of your practice as well, I highly recommend that. Connecting with your spirit, nothing lights it up more than play. When was the last time you played for playing's sake? Just ran outside and rolled down a grassy hill, or got on a swing, threw your child around in a circle, just had fun, just fun for the sake of fun. That is a really great way to connect you with spirit. Just think about those things that light you up and bring you energy. I love to sing. And so if I'm just feeling kind of low or like anxious or crazy, or just like, I will get my Lady Gaga karaoke on and sing my little heart's content. And when I'm done, I'm like, yeah, I moved some stuff around. It felt great. So what lights you up? What could you do for hours and just disappear in it, because it's fun. Practicing gratitude is another way to connect with spirit, because it just says like, thank you. I see the things you've brought to me. And it's funny how more of that grows, the more of it that you notice. And just all of this is helping you connect to your inner voice, because that truly is the most essential thing that you have. You are your own best authority. And yes, you should get counsel from other people. Yes, you should hear other perspectives. When it comes though down to it, that gut knowing, that's something that makes you think yes or no. You know more than anyone what is right for you. So there are specific practices, I could help you out with more. This will be a breakout session at the conference, actually going more specifically in detail of specific tools, energetic tools, we'll be doing that later. But yeah, managing energy is extremely important to longevity in your career and to managing day to day as you're going through your events. Oh gosh, this went quicker than I thought. We'll have some time for questions for sure. So ChelleyCanales.com is my website. I do individual coaching, igniting and supporting your awakening journey and life purpose exploration. So I call myself spiritual spark plug. When I was coming up with my title, I was like, what is it? It's like, yes, it's like, boom, getting you on your journey is something that lights me up. And I want to help with that, because there's a lot of light bulbs going off all over the world right now. And suddenly you might have been asking yourself questions that you weren't asking a few weeks ago. So I'm here to help with that. I have a program called Stage Present. It's a 6-week public speaking program with a spiritual twist. I've been on stage for over 20 years professionally, and so it's like my spiritual work and my on-stage work put together as a program. Please listen to my podcast. I already mentioned it. I'm really proud of it. Lighthouse Conversations with Chelley. The guests that come on my show are unbelievable. We talk about spiritual awakening journeys, and everyone's is so different, but yet all of these common threads just seem to find their way through, and it's just really beautiful to hear. I created it so people would feel less alone in what they're going through, and I think you'll be inspired as well. I have a book. I talked a little bit about ABCs of Awakening, Dictionary for the Emerging Soul, and there will be a course coming up on that that will be available online for going through letter by letter to talk about that. And if you want to check out my TED Talk, what is the world missing while you wait for permission? I think that's a question we have to ask ourselves right now too. What can you be doing right now that you don't need to ask someone for permission for? What can you just do? What can you create? What can you put out in the world? I talked way too fast. We were only half an hour in. Oh, but let me tell you one more thing before I open it up. I love this quote. When we seek for connection, we restore the world to our wholeness. Our seemingly separate lives become meaningful as we discover how truly necessary we are to each other. That's Margaret J. Wheatley. This industry is essential to what's happening next in our world, in our culture, in this country. We need you, and we need you healthy, and we need you well and shining your lights, because this is going to lead the way for everyone moving forward. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And let's see here. I'm going to open up the chat. No questions yet, but if you have a question, let me know. Feel free to put it on the chat, or feel free to also raise your hand and ask a question, and I can get your audio going. No questions? Okay. All right, see ya.
I'm going to unmute and ask a question if I could.
Yeah.
So we've been talking, and I believe there's a lot of different camps and theories on optimism and pessimism on what's going on, and how many people think it's going to go on forever and ever versus not. I think that this is an opportunity for leaders to develop and new ideas to come forward. How do we take this idea that there is opportunity and promote it among the masses when we do get out to what we're going to call the new normal? How do we make sure that we're part of that change? I know you said there's some ideas in there, but collectively, how do we do this?
Collectively as an industry, do you mean, or as like just,
Yep.
Okay, as an industry, I think it comes from, first of all, having gatherings like these where you can come together and put these ideas out there and have people discuss them in an open and frank kind of way. In the past, discussions like these were kind of kept under wraps. Like, people didn't really say a lot of the stuff out loud, right? Now you're finding that people are more comfortable talking about them and saying, I have thoughts about that as well. And I think when one person starts talking about it and one person starts showing up in that way, more people start to as well. It's the whole lights turning on everywhere thing. So I read the way you show up in your business, the way you show up to your employees, the way you show up with your customers during this time is going to say volumes about where you're going in the future. You look at the companies that are like, I just don't care about any of you. I'm just going to fire my entire staff. I'm a billionaire, by the way. And I just feel like, I'm really called to let y'all go without any benefits or any help and no severance. Or there's people who are like, I see you, I feel you, I know most of you are paycheck to paycheck, and I'm going to take care of you for the next month, and we're going to figure this out. So it's a matter of like how your values show up in the decisions that you make individually. And I think when more and more people start showing up in that integrity, other people say, oh, it can be done. I can do it in this way. And it doesn't have to be through these other channels before that we were told, this is how success happens. Mm-hmm. If you see success happening through these values that are being applied, then suddenly, like, maybe I feel brave enough to try that as well. So individual choices make larger collective choices. And I think that's how it's going to spread.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Is this completely in left field for anybody too? Because I would love to hear from you too if you're not quite sure, if things don't make sense. I'd be happy to chat with you about that too. Lexi. All right, Lexi. Let's see, did you raise your hand? Participants, Lexi. Okay, looks like you're unmuted. Hi,
Awesome.
Lexi.
Hi, Chelley. I'm not going to do my video because I just went for a run before this and I don't look video worthy.
I bet you look great, but I want you to be comfortable. That's the main thing.
Thanks. Okay, so I have a question, and I don't know, maybe it's a little roundabout, but I'm going to try and word it the best I can. So I have a lot of friends that are in the event industry in different capacities, whether it's, my coworkers where we work for a government entity or small businesses. My friend owns a brewery up in Estes. They're really feeling the pressure of this, a lot of contractor friends, etc. I find it difficult to have conversations with a lot of these people in this, I guess, time of crisis, because I am not personally feeling maybe the impacts as they are feeling them. And I'm trying really hard as me personally to find the positive, right? Like living a more simpler time, spending time with my family that I wouldn't be able to, getting house projects done. And that's just not the reality for them. How do we bridge those differences in this time to just really relate and be empathetic of one another?
That is a fabulous question because it's so true. There are people who haven't been affected, and there's people whose livelihoods have literally disappeared in an instant. And how can we relate to that? And how can we know that we're there and we want to relate to you, but even though we don't quite understand what you're going through? So I think you already have done the first thing, which is ask the question. You're being curious about it. You're not just telling them their experience is not relevant or shutting them down because it doesn't align with what you're dealing with right now. The thing to do is to hold space. And by holding space, it's being essentially a container for them to be able to share their grievances, to be able to let off what's on their chest because they're hurting and they do need friends right now. They do need people who they can say like, this sucks. This is hard. This is awful. And by being a space holder, you're not offering them advice, right? You're not saying, well, this is how you fix your problem. I mean, I don't know what you're going through, but if I were you, I would do this. It's more like, I'm here for you. I'm hearing you. Is there something I can do to support you? Can I share something on Facebook that says, let's do pickup from your brewery, or, allowing them to be there and not try to change their mind about it. I find that if we try to force someone into, but look at all the positives about this, it's good to mention them. It's good to say, you know what, maybe take a deep breath, step back and just consider like what's going right in this amount of time. What is it that, or do you get to spend more time with your kids? Like, that's great. But not having a strong opinion on it either way, that would make them feel defensive. But just being there to be a pillar while they're kind of floating in the air, unsure of where to go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're a pillar. You're a pillar right now. And some of us are pillars and some of us are like, please help me. Please catch me. And I think there's going to be a lot of shifting of roles during this time. People who are fine now may have find something else. The bottom falls out of some other part of it. It may not be their business per se, but they may have come to realization about something, so we're all going to need to be flexible and pliable and here for each other, because this is the only way we're going to get through this. It's from a space of non-judgment, a space of holding, and a space of like love. Just gotta blast that love out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. Well, we may be wrapping up here a little early, Ira. Is there anything else you want to say? Oh,
No,
question. I have Rosalie. Hi, Rosalie. Let's see if I can get you. Rosalie. Okay. There you go. Rosalie, are you there? Unmute. Okay. Rosalie?
I'm on my phone, not my computer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So Hello. Hey, thanks for your talk. I'm really enjoying it.
Of course, thank you.
I think the reason I'm in the event industry is because I'm a very logistics-oriented person. Do this and then do this. Hard deadline. The event can't happen a day late or an hour late. It happens on time, and these are the things that need to go forward. And, you know, listening to you talk about the spirituality, I've never really been much of an introspective person. And I'm trying to see how to open myself up to that and how it'll, I mean, I know it can be beneficial, and I have a lot of friends that practice it and really are, you know, it helps them quite a bit. So I don't know, maybe setting some time each day or making a commitment to it. Because right now it's just like, okay, I'll do this one time with you, but I won't think of it again until maybe somebody else mentions it another time. So I'm trying to like balance this logistics, this is what happens, or this time in my life where my business is slower, so I have more of that time for introspection.
Well, that's a wonderful question. And first of all, the fact that you are so good at logistics and that's your jam and that's how you show up every day, we need that. We need not just like, what's the shifting and the flowing and all. We need the balance of the people who are super strong in that. So what you're doing is showing your heart's work in that way. So that's phenomenal. What I will also say is that now that you have this extra time, can you plan parts of your day as if it were an event? Like that is a non-negotiable, that you give yourself half an hour every single day to try something for introspection. You know, if you plan, I'm not sure what your days are like now in terms of course you're not going out and doing all kinds of events, but you know, is there a time in between checking emails and lunch? Is it doable, do you think, to give yourself like that schedule on your calendar, 30 minutes, non-negotiable, 5 days a week? Is that something that you can do?
Yeah, I could do that if I make that a priority. I mean, just like I scheduled this call with you,
right?
And, you know, conference calls. I am working on a large event for October. The other ones between, you know, over the summer have canceled at this point. So yeah, I could do that. You know, just kind of say this is my time for learning more. I kind of don't know how to approach it yet. Yeah.
Oh, sure. And so the curiosity is the first step. You don't have to know yet, and you won't know until you try different things and say, this works for me. You know, some people can't sit in silence for 5 minutes. You don't have to. That doesn't have to be the way of doing it. You can get a beautiful piece of music that just lets your imagination flow, and you're thinking of something that's outside of what, you know, the everyday is. Or this is a mindful walk in nature. I'm not going to put my headphones in. It's me and my thoughts, and we're going to walk for 15 minutes. That's a mindfulness practice. So it's about just kind of trying different things out and say, like, I feel yummy and delicious when I do this, or I feel like cleansed inside when I do this. It should be something that brings you positive effects, and it shouldn't feel like a chore. So I think there's a good side to scheduling it, but if there's also days where you're like, I just would rather look at the sunset today, then, you know, maybe your 30 minutes you scheduled for yourself doesn't have to happen at that time. The number one thing is giving yourself some grace in that. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking that. I saw Denise has something to add to this. Okay, let me get you going here, Denise. So Rosalie, got you mute, and then Denise. Okay, Denise?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I just wanted to add to that, Rosalie, I completely understand and can relate to what you're saying. Something that I found really interesting is I did a journaling exercise the other day with a couple of friends, and the person who led it said, all right, describe your perfect day on paper. And what I noticed is that when I feel the best is when I am the most productive and when I get the most work done. So my journaling looked different because mine was just basically based around work and the number of things I could get done during the day. And everyone else's journaling was, well, I wake up and I go on a walk and I do some exercise and I make a good meal. So I think it's a really uncomfortable time, but this is really forcing me to find the things outside of work that will really bring peace and accomplishment to my life. And I feel like until now, I center that only around how good I am at my job and how good I could be at my job and how well I am or how good I could be at getting things done. So it's different, but it's been also great to just find the joy in other things as well.
That's wonderful. And when you find the joy in other things, it does feed your work. It makes you better at your work because you're able to lovingly dedicate that time because you're taking care of yourself in other aspects. Lisa Nichols is one of my favorite motivational speakers. And she says, you don't serve people from your cup, you serve them from your saucer. So it's like, how do you keep that cup overflowing so that when you're joyfully doing your job, you're at work, you're loving, you're having great success, it's not at the expense of who you are as a person and your own energy resources and your own joy of life. Like, yes, you should be giving it so much, giving it your all, but not your all. There's got to be your all for yourself. And there's got to be the all for your work comes from that. And you can do it from a place that that is sustainable. You can keep on that track for a long, long time to come because you know how to keep your reserves filled. So yeah, Denise, thank you for sharing that. That's really excellent point. Yeah. Okay. I think we can do one more question if anyone would like. Let's see here, just a moment. Gonna mute. Okay, I see a chat here. Okay. Great. This is a message from Kinsley. I struggle with focusing on one thing, especially something as simple as this. How do you get your brain to stop jumping off the focus? Great question. I deal with this a lot myself. We've become such a culture of like, I'm going to be watching that show I've been dying to watch while I'm checking my email, while I'm like painting my nails, and I'm probably having a glass of wine. So it's like this. We've trained ourselves to not focus on one thing at a time. That's where the mindfulness practice comes in. If you can say to yourself, okay, what are the other things that are distracting me right now? Okay, so if I'm watching TV and I have a glass of wine and I have my nails and I have my phone, can I allow myself to say, okay, what if I just did like intentionally choose one of these things at a time? And then when that urge comes up, but I feel like someone's going to text me, like put your phone away, like literally put it in another room. I really struggle with that, but it's something that we need to start becoming better at separating, because yes, multitasking is a wonderful thing, but it's also like, it's about giving each moment its due. It's about giving each activity the respect it deserves. Like, how can I best serve that moment? Am I best serving myself by having my mind in a couple of different places? Does it make me truly like, I want to watch that show so I can relax and enjoy? Am I actually relaxing and enjoying? Did I even remember I drank that glass of wine because it just went down while I was distracted with other things? So I think, how can you serve yourself and how can you serve the moment? So when we're on a call like this, for example, totally same with me. I'd be like on my phone and be like, what else is going on? Even though I'm hearing it, but am I truly taking it in? So it's about choosing to be intentional in that moment and saying, like, if I'm going to spend my precious time, my hours of my day doing this specific thing, do I want to do it halfway, a quarter of the way, an eighth of the way? Or do I truly want to enjoy that experience? And so it's a practice. It doesn't just happen overnight. You're not going to say, suddenly I'm so great at focusing on that one thing. It takes time to choose and then choose again and then choose again and then choose again. And I would also say that, again, the practice of meditation reminds us to be in the moment. So our minds are like this. And the more you learn how to meditate, because it doesn't come easily, it does take time to start to get, okay, I'm at a place where I can kind of get the hang of this. And the second you get the hang of this, then it's like, it's not as easy anymore, which is great. It's always going to be a practice. It's just coming back to it. Just come back to it, come back to it, come back to it. And I wish we could wave a wand to be like, focus. I can't do that. But try to find, like, engage all of your body and all of your senses in the moment as well. I hope that helps. Any last questions? Oh, I see a chat. Okay. Yes, great. I'm glad, Kinsley. Thank you. Thank you for that question. Okay, well, I'm going to start to wrap this up here. So I will be, when the conference is rescheduled, one of the breakout sessions will be specifically about self-care for the event professional, specific tools like energetic tools, like meditation tools, in the moment type things. Like if somebody you have all of these different people coming at you on event day, and they all want things from you, keeping yourself from losing your mind to like, I've got to please all these people, to like managing your energy. So you dictate how that goes, and you're able to stay calm and focused and serving in a really positive way, to making sure that your energy is sustainable throughout the day as well. So it's pre, during, and post event techniques to help yourself for the specific events, and to help yourself over the long term, keeping your career in a really inspired, healthy, positive way. So I look forward to having that with you. If you wanted to work with me personally, chelleycanales.com is the best way to do that. Details are there. You can email me, chelley@chelleycanales.com if you would like, if you have any questions, and that's CHELLEY at CHELLEYCANALES.com. So I am so grateful for your time. Thank you for listening. This has been such a pleasure. Ira, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. If you can't see the applause in the background, they're there. I am myself not been a technology fan. There we go. We got some claps.
Round of applause for you all. Thank
So
you.
I will say I as a lot new to this Zoom, new to this conference and online thing. I will say that I've known you for years. Your energy came through. I found it very warm. I found it very helpful. So I appreciate you giving us your time here. And I look forward to the opportunity, and hopefully the fall, to do this all together. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Take good care of yourselves. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again soon. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.